Beardo Benjo.
I really don't know if this is straight. I don't think anyone's going to care. I don't think anyone's going to notice, probably, except for me. Is that okay? I think that's alright. It's probably alright. It's probably alright. Where do I look? Where's the camera? Like, is that the that's the camera. Look at the camera. Look at the camera. Look at the camera. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm doing something very different today. This is a very different kind of camera angle intro type thing for me. I'm not really used to this. I'm recording with the stereotypical YouTuber backdrop. I have geeky things behind me. You have to start doing this kind of intro when you hit 100k because you need to have your little plaque behind you at all times. I don't have mine yet, but I'm getting ready for it. I'm preparing myself. PSVR2 is so close now. It's just over 2 weeks from launch and I am beyond excited. Excitement is reaching fever pitch at this point in time. I haven't gone hands-on with the headset at all up to this point in time. I'm not one of the lucky few who was invited to go to one of the preview hands-on days. In terms of VR, however, I've been around for ages and I've actually played 85 or 90% of the PSVR2 launch day games. I've played them on other platforms, so they might be different on PSVR2, but I know fundamentally what they're like, and that's why I'm making this video today. I wanted to put together my kind of top 10 PSVR2 launch titles that I would personally purchase, or I would recommend newcomers, new adopters of the PSVR2 hardware to pick up come launch day. Now, I'm not saying you need to buy all 10. That's expensive. You might not want to buy all 10, but these are the 10 that I think will give you the most value for money in terms of a newcomer, experiencing VR for the first time, seeing what it's all about, showcasing how amazing this tech can be, and just generally the best VR gaming experiences that the PSVR2 will offer on launch day. Hope you enjoy the video. Here's my top 10 PSVR2 launch titles with 5 special shoutouts as well. Demeo perfectly captures the feeling of playing a board game around a table with a few close friends. It bottles that feeling and distills it into a VR experience unlike anything else that's available right now. With a decent dose of Dungeons & Dragons style lore, characters with different skill sets and abilities, an ever-expanding range of story-driven campaigns to play through, and heaps of value-for-money replayability, it's very easy to recommend Demeo to VR veterans and newcomers alike. There's just enough depth in the card and movement-based gameplay loop to engage players of all skill levels. If you want a challenge, Demeo will definitely provide that, but it's not so difficult, especially in early stages, to be off-putting. The only reason Demeo doesn't place higher on this list is because you do need friends to get the very most out of it. The game can be played solo, but so much of the magic comes from enjoying a campaign alongside friends that you will need to take that into consideration when picking your launch titles. Pistol Whip is basically the perfect VR game for newcomers. It feels like the kind of game that could only exist in VR, whilst also utilising VR mechanics in such a way as to not alienate new users. The premise is simple. You shoot, reload and punch enemies in time to the beat of the music, whilst your character slowly works their way towards the end of the level. The game doesn't rely on any smooth locomotion or artificial movement mechanics, which can be rather vomit-inducing for new users with weak VR legs, and it can be played standing or seated. The visual style is immediately engaging, and shooting bad guys in time to the beat of the brilliantly curated soundtrack is a real delight. You immediately feel like John Wick or some other highly trained musical assassin, even on the easiest difficulty settings. It also doubles up as a very good fitness game, with higher difficulty modes pushing players to duck and dodge almost constantly as the level progresses. I've played Pistol Whip on 3 different VR platforms already, but I can't wait to see how the game looks and feels on PSVR2. If you want a real visual treat for your brand new PSVR2 headset, something to really whisk you away to another place and fool you into believing that you're not actually sitting at home on your sofa whilst it's -4 outside and raining constantly, then you need to pick up Kayak VR Mirage, a game that executes its simple premise perfectly. This game does exactly what it says on the tin. You sit inside virtual kayaks as you paddle your way through gorgeous, and I really do mean gorgeous, virtual environments that contain free exploration, challenges and races. It's another title perfectly suited to beginners, but it will appeal to VR users of all skill levels due to its mesmerizing visuals and incredibly responsive, enjoyable control scheme that can be a real arm workout during some of the longer races and bigger exploration environments. I can't imagine a better home for Kayak VR Mirage than PSVR2. With those 4K HDR OLED displays, this is going to be a game you won't want to stop playing once you're immersed inside it. The Last Clockwinder is a beautiful and creative VR puzzle game that I actually named my favourite VR title of 2022. Not since Portal and Portal 2 have I felt this kind of, wow, that is seriously awesome approach to puzzle solving and freedom in a video game. In The Last Clockwinder you can create clones of yourself, short recordings that repeat whatever action you were carrying out over and over and over again. The clones can be chained together in such a way that you end up creating whole production lines of robot characters that work together to complete complex tasks. Pick an apple in one location and then throw it. Then create a new clone that catches the thrown apple before throwing it into a large collection bucket. These two clones will then continue this pattern indefinitely, and the joy of solving the game's increasingly more challenging puzzles lies in this mechanic. The visuals are sharp, the puzzles are brilliant, and it's a uniquely VR-centric game that asks players to use physical actions to overcome obstacles. I can't recommend this one enough. One thing we really don't have enough of in VR is big, expansive, escapist titles that we can sink hundreds of hours into. Games like Skyrim and Fallout have remained so popular in the VR scene because they offer such a huge amount of content complete with rich modding communities. However, on PSVR2, neither of these games are available at launch, so it falls to No Man's Sky to provide players with that large-scale escapist experience. You can explore the entire procedurally generated universe in virtual reality thanks to No Man's Sky. Hop into a spaceship and blast off towards the stars in search of new adventures, undiscovered planets, alien races, and online players in the game that just keeps getting better. With countless large updates, No Man's Sky has evolved from humble beginnings to a game with a full base building mechanic, giant Dune-style sandworms, multiple different biomes, and rich storytelling opportunities. It also looks stunning with a highly stylized and vivid approach to space exploration. You won't find any dull, grey, lifeless planets here. Fingers crossed it performs well on PSVR2, as the only thing holding it back on PC is the occasional subpar performance. I dare you to play Moss 1 or 2 and not immediately fall in love with the characters and worlds presented to you. It's rare that I find myself becoming attached to characters in video games, but Quill, the mouse protagonist from the Moss series, is definitely the exception to this rule, as I was won over instantly. Moss plays like the many classic third-person action-adventure titles, with combat, puzzles, and exploration at the forefront of the experience. However, despite the third-person viewpoint, you aren't just an observer. You control Quill with the control sticks and face buttons of your VR controllers, but you can also reach out and interact with the world or Quill herself. You're just as much a character in the game as one controlling the character, and it really does make for a memorable experience. Both Moss 1 and 2 are essential VR games for any platform, and I'm sure they'll make the leap to PSVR 2 with all its new features and higher visual fidelity beautifully. Of all the games that have been ported from existing VR hardware over to the PSVR 2, Song in the Smoke seems to have had the biggest glow up. Song in the Smoke Rekindled looks to be the definitive version of this incredible fantasy horror survival game that will challenge even the most battle-hardened gamer or VR user. Players must hunt, craft, scavenge, and maintain their own basic needs if they want to survive this unforgiving wilderness filled with beasts that look almost recognizable as animals in the real world, whilst also managing to feel somewhat mystical. It's not an easy game, so this one here is for those who want a challenge. Surviving past even the first few day-night cycles is difficult, but the more you play, the more you'll understand and learn the mechanics. You'll learn to plan each hunt and only head out during the daytime stocked with arrows, heals, and food. It's rewarding, it's full of content, and it looks completely rebuilt for the PSVR 2. Song in the Smoke Rekindled is the ultimate VR survival sim for those looking for a more fantastical experience. I've said it a bunch of times over the last few weeks, I am not a huge fan of racing games. It's usually the last genre I think about picking up when I have a spare hour or so to sit and play a game. But after seeing the recent previews of Gran Turismo 7 on PSVR2, I rushed out and picked up a copy of the game. I've even contemplated buying a wheel and racing chair to enhance the experience. That's how good this game looks. Running at an eye-watering 120Hz inside those 2000 by 2040 resolution lenses on the PSVR2, I'm sure this will be the ultimate way to play Gran Turismo 7. Sim racing enthusiasts are hungry to get their hands on this one, and when it was confirmed that the entire game will be playable in VR, even people like myself were sold. I can easily see GT7 being amongst the most popular PSVR2 games even years removed from the launch window. Fingers crossed that encourages more racing games to implement VR support as standard. I'm still waiting for Burnout VR. The ultimate pick for those of you who want something a little more spooky now, if you want a high-intensity action-adventure experience filled with sexy vampires, hairy werewolves, and creepy slimy monsters, then Resident Evil Village is the game for you. I've completed this one a bunch of times. I think I'm up to my 8th playthrough now, and I can confirm this is one of the strongest titles in the PSVR2 lineup without a shadow of a doubt. It has a full story-driven campaign that should take average players around 10 hours to beat on their first attempt, but it is designed to be played multiple times as the game is packed with unlockable guns, skins, secrets, and more. Resident Evil has moved away from its pure horror roots in recent years, and Village is definitely more of an action-adventure title, but don't let that fool you. It still has moments of sheer terror that will no doubt traumatize you for the rest of your life, especially in stunning VR thanks to the PSVR2. I mean, I don't think I'm quite ready to experience the horrific creature that lurks in a specific house around the halfway point of the game. Without spoiling anything, it was bad enough on a flat screen, screw seeing that monstrosity in VR. Resident Evil Village should be an essential pickup for any new PSVR2 owners. It's sure to showcase the features of the headset whilst taking players on one of the most enjoyable action-adventure horror experiences in years. Before we reach the number 1 pick, here are a few special shoutouts. And finally, my ultimate launch lineup choice for PSVR2 is Horizon Call of the Mountain. It was never going to be anything else really, was it? A first-party Sony IP built from the ground up to utilize all the features of their brand new VR headset? This is certainly going to be the best showcase for exactly what the PSVR2 can do on launch day. And it actually feels like Sony are positioning Horizon as the training experience for this headset, even going so far as to package it in as part of a slightly higher priced bundle package. Horizon looks gorgeous, and I'm sure it's going to be pure spectacle from start to finish, a game that truly sells people on the power of VR when done correctly. For me, however, I hope Horizon is the start of something big. I hope this is the beginning of Sony's dedication to trying more of their first-party properties in VR. With a back catalogue containing games like Uncharted, The Last of Us, Spider-Man, God of War, Ratchet & Clank, Infamous, and Killzone, Sony could create some truly show-stopping VR titles over the next few years, and elevate the medium to a place where bigger developers take more risks on creating games for the platform. Fingers crossed that's the direction we see things moving, but for now, Horizon Call of the Mountain looks set to be an exceptional first step. And there we have it. Those are my top 10 PSVR2 launch titles. It's looking really, really strong. I cannot wait to get my hands on this shiny new VR headset. Let me know down in the comments below if you're picking up these games or if you're picking up different ones. I'd love to hear from you guys. And if you enjoyed the video, as always, please do leave a like, leave a comment, and hit subscribe. And I'll see you soon for another one. Take care, guys. See you later.